We've talked about the Music Box a lot on this show, and that is because they're just a gem here in Chicago. If you live anywhere where the Music Box is near enough to go to a movie, you should absolutely do it. And I have the perfect one for you. As part of their Music Box of Horrors, this October 8th at 7 p.m., they are hosting a special screening of with none other than us, CinemaJaw. We will be presenting the film along with Ali from Ali's Reptile Den, who will be bringing some real life to the show with his reptiles. We got pythons, we got spiders, we got all kinds of weird things. Come and see his amazing demonstration and the crazy 70s exploitation movie. You hiss it, you don't say it. It is 7 S's. Tickets are available right now at musicbox.com, and the link will be in the show notes of this show. Do it.
See you there.
You're listening to CinemaJaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from CinemaJaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Rye, the movie guy, and right to my left is KP.
Hello.
This week on CinemaJaw, Matt, we go best worst on 3 topics. They are best worst Halle Berry movie, best worst secret government program movies.
Okay, there's lots of those.
Right, and best worst Channing Tatum movie.
Lots of those.
There
especially in the latter category.
2 reviews this week. The Halle Berry movie that we are celebrating her for is The Union, starring her and Mark Wahlberg, out on Netflix right now. We got a review for you. And Channing Tatum out in Zoe Kravitz directorial debut, Blink Twice.
Is it her debut?
Throw it in the fish tank. I'm 99% sure this is her directorial debut.
I'm 99% sure you're wrong.
What else would have she directed?
I believe she directed something last year.
Was she in it?
No.
We will throw it in the fish tank. But I'm 99% sure Matt's wrong. But the movie is Blink Twice. It is out in theaters, limited release, and is going to be on Amazon Prime. So we have a review of that. So, oh, wow, there is money on the table.
$1 on that bet.
It is very unlike you, Matt, to go into your wallet that fast and pull out cash.
I'm pretty sure this is not Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut.
There's money on the table.
$1.
Wow. $1, Bob.
$1, Bob.
All right, so it is packed jaw already. If it wasn't enough, we have KP. We promised last week. Me and Matt, completely different opinions on Alien Romulus. KP went and saw it, and is going to split the vote.
Yeah, well, break the tie.
Break the tie. And believe me, I actually have very strong opinions on this. So
cannot wait to hear that.
Also, Matt, you were out in New York. I had a wedding, and we couldn't get out to Fan Expo, but KP did. So KP going to get an update of what was going on over at Fan Expo. I know Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill himself, was in town for it.
Absolute blast.
But we kick things off with a Halle Berry fact.
You know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
What, Halle?
The same thing that happens to everything else.
Oh, that's a great fact.
That's the fact, yeah. That a toad can be struck by lightning.
You know, pulling back the curtain here, we've been saying, you made the joke. Do you know what happens to a movies podcast when it gets struck by lightning? This is great.
We're going to be using this forever. Shamelessly plugging October 8th, CinemaJaw and Ali's Reptile Den are hosting at the Music Box.
Which is a movie.
Yes, which is a movie. You know what happens to a reptile film festival when it gets struck by lightning? The same thing as everything else.
Yeah. You know what happens to anything when it gets struck by lightning? Same thing
as everything else.
Yep.
That is, in fact, not our fact this week, even though it's very valuable information.
Good to know.
I forgot she was in this, but she was in Die Another Day, the James Bond film.
Oh, how could you forget that one?
Spectre overshadowed it in my brain. I don't know what you want from me. It was a long time ago. A spinoff was planned for the 007 movie, starring Halle Berry's character Jinx Johnson as the lead, and she was set to come back. Neil Purvis and Robert Wade wrote for 2 different months on this spinoff, and a director was even hired. However, this sucks. The low box office performances of other really big female character-driven action films at that time kind of made MGM pull the plug. They had seen
Thanks, Gina Davis.
Well, it was Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, and like the second Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movie. And that's not fair to Halle. Like, it's
Right,
not
it's
that
not
the
her fault.
audience. Well, and it's like, it's not that audiences don't want to see female character-driven action movies. It's that those two suck.
Right.
Arguably. I like the second Charlie's Angels.
Matt sucks. They suck. Everybody who likes it sucks. Anyways, it's not come to fruition. However, Halle Berry herself has said that she would love to return and play the character in another James Bond movie. So much so that she's gone on record saying that she would do the role for free. We live in like a post-Atomic Blonde, post-Furiosa landscape where, fingers crossed that Halle gets her day soon.
It is funny that if it happened at a different time, like you
Right.
mentioned, with all these female-led action movies being the it thing now, it totally would have worked.
Yeah. It's the era. I wonder. I mean, we're going to talk about it. She looks like she's still got some action left, you know. She's not looking decrepit, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Correct. Well, let's talk about this. We decided to do our best, worst Halle Berry, and
Yeah.
to make it interesting, we took one movie out and said neither of us can pick this, and that being her Academy Award-winning performance in Monsters Ball.
Right.
'Cause
Too obvious.
Too obvious. We would have went Monsters Ball, and what's the fun in that? So taking that out,
You could probably guess mine.
it's actually very difficult, I think. But I'm 90% sure I got yours. So why don't we start with your pick of Swordfish?
As her best.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine. That's your favorite.
Okay, listen, I went through Halle Berry's filmography, and I am not throwing shade on Halle Berry. She's great, but her filmography is kind of thin when it comes to like good movies. You got Monsters Ball, and it thins out awful quick after that. I like Swordfish. I'm a Swordfish apologist. Still like that movie. Rewatched it during Hugh Jackman month, and shit, it holds up. I think it's fun. It's stupid. It's like a grungy 90s or early aughts, I guess. Stupid espionage hacker movie.
John Travolta also in there.
Yeah, weird role for him.
Very-
For a weird guy, it's a weird role. You don't know if he's a good guy or a villain till the very end. I don't know. It's kind of fun. I like it. There you go. Swordfish is my pick for her best after Monsters Ball.
So I also, looking at that filmography, actually agree with your take on it. It's tough to pick because you don't want to just go with
Bond.
something with like where she's, the supporting character, or go Bond or X-Men. That feels like a cheat because they're in franchises already. So you want to pick something that's like,
Where she's got a
an
meaty
original
role.
film and that she's one of the leads, And so going over it, I thought, well, I'll highlight this one. I've been critical of it in the past, but I didn't hate it, and it's a movie that I would like to return to. It's just so damn long that I've never watched it a second time, and that is the Wachowski brothers' Cloud Atlas with Halle Berry and Tom Hanks. It's got a runtime, throw it in the fish tank. I'm going to say darn near close to 3.5 hours. That's going to be my guess. It's a long one for sure.
It was a Titanic flop.
Yes. Did not do very well. Part of the issue was I remember our former producer, Elias, read the book, and he talked about how it had to be almost impossible to film because it's talking about different eras, multiple characters playing different characters in those eras, and it's one of those that's very difficult to just put together in a 3.5 hour movie. Nowadays, you could probably make a 10-part series on it, and it'd be awesome.
Ooh, Lord of the Rings is coming back, dude.
Totally. So you could do something like that, and it would work. But I think at the time, 3.5 hours, it did struggle to completely make sense. However,
It did struggle to completely make sense.
However, the best part, I loved one of the storylines in there with Tom Hanks and Halle Berry having a relationship, and she gets knocked off a bridge in her car. It's a wonderful shot in the movie. Cloud Atlas, I do need to return to it at some time. So I do think that's definitely a highlight of hers, especially working with the Wachowskis.
And Tom Hanks.
Yeah. And it was a big movie. It just didn't do,
It just flopped.
Yeah, it just didn't do huge numbers.
It fell off a bridge like a car.
Exactly. Now on to her worst. And there are a few that you can pick.
Yes, there are. We did a series on Patreon. It's still up. Shameless plug. You can go back and watch, or listen rather, to our reviews of bad superhero movies. And of the ones that we did, the only one that really sticks in my mind that I remember is Catwoman. It's almost to the point. In fact, you know what? I think it might be at the point of being so bad it's good. It sucks. It is a tour de force of suckhood. Wow. Is it just bad? The writing is bad. The special effects are bad. It doesn't make any sense. It's lame on so many levels. It's supposed to be a big vehicle. I think you can point to this as one of the things that really held her career back.
I agree with you. I mean, because this should have been, if it was done right. Let's live in a world where she knocked it out of the park, and this was the Catwoman movie that we're all talking about. Then she's on a roll. She'd probably have a couple of those in her, in her
she'd
filmography.
Be doing Batman movies, right? There'd be tie-ins,
and it just didn't even make sense in the world of Batman. Like it wasn't a character. I remember on that podcast asking you, like, well, who is this character? Is there a backstory in the comics on this? And there isn't. I mean, it wasn't the normal.
Is, but
I'm saying it wasn't the normal
Selena Kyle.
It was a totally different take. It was just a weird.
Yeah.
Everything was weird about it, and the action wasn't great. The acting was terrible, but the dialogue was probably what was the worst part of the entire film. It was god awful.
By the way, are we just going to pass over The Crow? The new Crow movie?
We'll talk about that off the air.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We got to talk about this.
Yes. So I had another pick for worst.
Okay.
And that was Moonfall, which came out just last year.
Yeah, you love this movie.
No, it's on my worst.
I was joking.
But it is, the premise here is that the moon falls to the earth. I mean, if that isn't...
I remember you doing that same joke. I was going to say, what happens in it?
Absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's like, what? The moon is
going
falling.
To steal the moon.
Right? Well, it turns out, I'm just going to give the big plot twist away, is that the moon isn't a celestial body in this movie. It turns out that our ancestors came here in this structured space station that is the moon, and then...
That's no moon.
...came down to Earth. And Neil Armstrong and NASA and everybody who went to the moon had it completely wrong. It's not a rock up there. It's a space station. They were just misinformed. And now it's crashing down into Earth, and Halle Berry's got to go save the damn thing. It's so ridiculous. I mean, how'd they make a movie out of this? How did that get greenlit?
I don't know, man. People smoking stuff.
I mean, tennis punks can't get greenlit.
Right?
But Moonfall... Go ahead. Let's throw $80 million into a pot and make that movie.
Hey, one day Tennis Punks will see the light of day. If any directors are out there looking for a script, come calling. I got one.
So those are our picks for best and worst Halle Berry, but she is in a new one right now that you can see on Netflix.
Indeed she is, and it is called The Union. Halle Berry and Mark Wahlberg star in The Union, a so-called spy action comedy thriller film directed by Julian Farino. It's currently streaming on Netflix, which is beginning to really mean something for me. We'll get to that. So can this clandestine comedy thrill and infiltrate our funny bones, or is its cover blown? Ryan and I fired up the big red N to find out.
Hi, I'm Mikey.
Roxanne Hall. How often is it that you run into your high school sweetheart after 25 long years?
2 shots, please.
You can handle your liquor now?
I can always handle my liquor.
I don't know. I got a vomit-stained tuxedo that says different, but
Wait,
hey.
you still got your tuxedo from high school?
Yeah.
Really?
And it still fits.
Do you have an ulterior motive for bringing you here?
You trying to whisk me away with you, huh?
Something like that.
Welcome to London, Mikey.
Rox, what the hell? Where did Jersey go?
Mike McKenna is a construction worker played by Mark Wahlberg in New Jersey, living a predictable and dependable life. He drinks with his pals, goes to work, and is shown to be rather fearless, eating his lunch on girder beams high in the air. One night, his high school flame, who had gone missing from his life, Roxanne Hall, played by Halle Berry, walks into his bar. Sparks fly, and so does a dose of tranquilizer, and Mark wakes up in London. Why an American agency is headquartered in London, I have no idea. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It turns out Roxanne is an agent in the Union, a sort of blue-collar CIA who does the dirty work for the more well-known three-letter agencies. Mark has been specially recruited to fix a botched mission because he is a nobody. As the plot unfurls, the romantic tension with Roxanne and the stakes escalate, kind of, wackiness and spy action ensue, Rye. Listen. This is what Netflix can do. The Union is a pretty forgettable movie, but it passes. J.K. Simmons and Jackie Earle Haley add a little star power and fun to the cast, and Wahlberg and Berry, having both been 90s stars, sort of work together and make sense. The action is fairly decent, more violent than I expected, but never over the top in that regard. The comedy, it's not laugh out loud per se, but I did have a few chuckles. This is a high middle of the roader for me. It all comes down to expectations. I wasn't expecting much, and that's more or less what I got. Maybe a bit more. So I think for a Netflix movie, go ahead and stream it.
Wow, a slight recommend, this sounds like, from
It's
Matt
a slight
Kay.
recommend.
Now, as I wrote on my Letterboxd review, I said most of the jokes didn't land, the tone was off, and yet I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I think it's saved actually by the chemistry between Wahlberg and Berry. As you mentioned, they do work pretty good together.
They're pretty charming.
They are. And okay, I wanted to see them sort of rekindle their romance that they had in high school. I like that. And while I didn't really actually buy Halle Berry as some badass secret agent.
No, not at all.
I mean, sometimes she's running down a hallway with a gun, and I thought, that looks like the most ridiculous way you would handle a gun. And she's supposed to be almost like an assassin. Terrible. I mean, just terrible.
Well, we'll get to the whole Union
Yes.
and how ridiculous it is.
But I did buy Mark Wahlberg as the meathead New Jersey guy. That was
that's not a stretch for him.
Right. That's in over his head, right? I like the idea that he's still living in his hometown in New Jersey, sleeping with his 7th grade teacher, who I thought that was a pretty good joke, who now he calls on a first name basis,
Yeah.
right? And then gets transported to London and involved in the Union. He worked for me the best in this movie. And I've been critical of Wahlberg of late. His last few movies have been, I thought, just absolute garbage. But this was, I think, pretty solid. I think he's good when he's the outsider and he's not the expert in the movie, if you will. So
he was pretty good in that Kevin Hart movie where he comes and he's kind of the wild man. Do you remember that?
I don't think anybody's ever said he was pretty good in that Kevin Hart movie. Seriously. I don't even think people say that about Kevin Hart in that Kevin Hart movie.
not even Kevin Hart.
I like me some Wahlberg from time to time.
But to give an example, there's a scene in this movie where he finds out that another agent is actually married to Halle Berry.
Spoiler alert.
It's not that big of a spoiler. Not that big of a deal. And when he finds this out, it's quite hilarious because he's not nearly as equipped and trained as this guy that is married to Halle Berry. So it's like, what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? At one point he's going to fight and Halle Berry says something to him he'd kill you. Mike, he'd kill you, or whatever his name is in the movie. Just leave it alone, blah, blah, blah. I'll explain it later, she says. And I like when Wahlberg's outside of his comfort zone and not the expert, but more on the outside looking in.
Yeah, but that is wildly inconsistent because they do show him, and listen, he's got this background in construction where he is, exceptionally, he's got balance, he's got low fear, that kind of thing. Okay. But he gets 2 weeks to train and suddenly he's, an expert in certain things like espionage things. It's very hard to believe.
Yes.
You got to make some big leaps.
And we're going to get to the Union, but I wrote down a few positives and a few negatives.
All
positives, you mentioned the supporting cast. J.K. Simmons was great as the point person.
Boy, he's always great.
Yeah. A little underused, but great. Good to see Jackie Earle Haley.
Just in anything.
In anything. I don't know why that guy doesn't work a little bit more. And one that you didn't mention is... who plays Wahlberg's mom in the movie is Lorraine Bracco from Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Is the mom. She was pretty good in there also, always calling and knowing basically what he's up to at all times, like how a mom does. I thought that was pretty good. And then I also liked the action in general was pretty good. But tonally a little bit off for it to be like a comedy. And like you said, it isn't like violent, like John Wick violent.
But it's a little bit more violent than your average comedy.
Right. So it was like a little almost too much, because then it's like, whoa, this is actually serious.
Right. I thought they
and
were going to go there.
I'm not laughing anymore. You know?
Exactly. And we'll get to that in our jaw-dropping moments, because I thought they were going to go there, and then they don't. Anyway.
Now, on the negative side, how many times have we seen a plot like this? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Night and Day. Do you remember that movie?
Yes. I never saw it, but I'm very familiar, the Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz. So it didn't feel fresh. As I mentioned, the tone is off. And as you talked about, Mark Wahlberg gets 2 weeks training. This is one of the worst training montages I've seen in a long time. Talk about uninspired training montage. As I was watching it, I said out loud, and I'm by myself. I'm not trying to entertain anybody. And I said out loud, oh, my God, we're doing this again? Like, we can't watch a guy drive a car in a parking lot, you know? Oh, and now he's going to be great because he made one left turn, and now he can wheel around in a car super fast, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a better training montage in that Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer superhero movie.
It's close to that. Those two that was a bad one also.
Actually,
this is right down in there.
That dinner scene, though, with Jason Bateman.
That was good.
That was really good. Anyway, different movie.
Yes. So I had a problem with the training sequence.
The union itself.
Now let's talk about the union itself.
Okay. So the whole impetus behind the existence of the union is that J.K. Simmons' character believes in blue collar America. We're the guys who get stuff done. And I'm not casting aspersions on that particular philosophy. That's fine. But it's ridiculous to think that they would create an espionage agency of guys who used to work at Amazon. He was really good at Amazon, so we recruited him. You know? I mean, no.
Right.
They're just really? And why are they in London?
I don't know. You know what's funny is I didn't pick up on that as being as crazy, but now as you're saying and I'm thinking about it, why would their office have been there? I have no idea at all.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like against international treaties. You can't have like a spy agency in another country.
Right.
Like, especially one of our allies. It's just weird. It's weird. But you just got to go with it, I guess. And it's wacky.
It is. So I have a nitpick here. And this is...
It's almost like, why bother nitpick this? The whole movie's a nitpick.
I know. But this is a nitpick that I've talked about how this annoys me throughout tons of movies. And this one in particular, because they played it up for a gag in the movie, I want to call them out on it and list it as my nitpick.
Well, pick the nit.
Here it is. So in all of these movies, these spy movies, they all go with the earpiece and the intercom where they can all talk, which I can't stand. You guys have heard me complain about this in the Marvel movies. All the superhero movies always have this, and always the spy movies have this. And let's go over this. Think about it realistically, because they did in this movie, and it drove me nuts that they went for the gag and not the realistic version of what would have happened. So the idea is that J.K. Simmons is like the point person. He's in the control room. He has eyes on, all these hidden cameras and yada yada, and then he's listening to everybody. And at this time, you got Mark Wahlberg being chased around town by some guys.
Yeah, that deal goes south pretty quick.
And then you have Halle Berry and a couple other agents that are in a car chase, and then what turns into a massive gun battle out on the streets. And the idea is they're all making jokes at the time. So the idea is that they can all hear each other and talk to each other the whole entire time. And the gag that they use in the movie is at one point, Mark Wahlberg, trying to get away from these guys, goes into a gym auditorium, and there is a school musical going on, and you hear the children singing, and they're like, oh boy, what's he doing now? And you hear and everybody laughs. When at the same time, Halle Berry's firing rounds of a machine gun, which would be blaring in your ears. Think about it for a second. All of that noise would be going on the whole time you're running around from people. There would be car chasing, guns blazing, children singing. It would be a mess, would it not?
Cacophony.
I worry sometimes about the AC on this podcast getting picked up. You know?
Yeah.
You know, and imagine, somebody's firing a gun and you're trying to talk. This is what always drives me in the Marvel movies. They're all making jokes. Like, you know how annoying it would be if people are talking while you're flying in the air trying to, like, you know, rescue a woman who's falling down a building and Iron Man's making a joke about somebody wearing, you know, underoos and stuff. Like, just shut up. I'm trying to save somebody here. And in this movie, it's like they're all making gags, firing guns. And it's like, be realistic here. It would annoy the shit out of everybody if all of that was going on at the same exact time. But yet they pick up the school kids in the musical for a gag.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's my nitpick.
It is a plot device. We need that for the characters to be able to communicate.
Well, I agree, and I disagree because I think it's just poor screenwriting because they have relied on it so much. It's like in every movie. They can't get away from it now. They don't even do like clever ways to do exposition anymore. We'll just do it in the ear all the time. The characters will be walking down the hallway and we'll explain what they have to do right before they do it for the audience. Come on, give us something more creative way of sneaking it in there.
I agree.
You have to sneak it in there because that's how movies work. But you gotta come up with something more creative than doing the stupid earpiece all the time.
I agree, but I'm not expecting that from a Mark Wahlberg, Halle Berry movie.
Agree, but that's my nitpick.
All right, how about some jaw-dropping moments here? Because I alluded to this earlier. Halle Berry's character gets into a fist fight, and this is no kitchen scene from Kill Bill, but it alludes to that kitchen scene. And at the end, she does this suplex, belly-to-belly suplex, where she flips the girl behind her and then cracks her neck on the ground. That was brutal.
It was really brutal, actually.
And they show her, like, dead body. And Mark Wahlberg's character sort of, like, zeroes in on that. Like, you think that's going to become an issue. It doesn't.
No. But the way she landed on her head was really creepy, for sure.
Yeah, it was.
It was well done. I mean, it definitely shocked me for a second there.
Made me never want to do a belly-to-belly suplex on anybody.
Forget that noise.
Hell yeah.
For the jaw-dropping moment, I went with the online auction that is going on. And it's a scene where they need to find the seller of this list. It's always the
knock list,
right?
Yeah.
And this list is like quite literally, I think everybody in the world's on the list. The way they make it sound, how good could the list be with as many people?
It's the phone book.
It's like literally everybody. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you got everybody's name in the world. What does it matter anymore? But they're after this list, and the only way they can find it is by doing this online auction. And the seller, they can find the like a beacon, find where they're at in the town.
The MacGuffin.
Right. And so they got to keep them bidding. And of course, the government's got to be, putting up the money for this just to keep the seller on the line. That was pretty entertaining and
fun. It was good.
That whole sequence was pretty decent.
Yeah. There's a lot of pretty decent sequences.
Was my jaw dropped? No, but pretty decent.
All right.
I do have a best joke in the movie.
Oh, please.
New category, best joke. I went with, I love this, when Halle Berry came in to the bar back in New Jersey. This is early on in the film. Wahlberg's there with his characters, has not moved out of this town, and he's just getting drunk with his buddies after work, playing pool, and he says he's going to go get beer. And then he goes up to the bar, he orders the beer for his buddies, and then she walks in. Now he's like, stumbling over his words, shocked that she's there. I can't believe you came back. And she says, "Are you here by yourself?" And he's like, "Yes." And then the bartender puts down the pitcher of beer right at the same time. Got me to laugh out loud. Perfect timing. Good joke. It was solid.
It was all right. Good timing. I'll give you that. You got a movie poster quote?
Yes, I do. I went with, Netflix gives us another Netflix no-thinker. If you are looking for mindless fun, the Union will entertain you for an hour 45.
Yep. I went with this. The Union is mildly entertaining.
There you go. I'm going 1.75 Jaws. I'm just shy of 2 Jaws.
That's fair. I went ahead and gave it 2 Jaws.
Yes.
I mean, it's fine. It's middle of the road. It's fine. I will forget about it by this time next year.
That's the problem with these movies, and I did want to go back to the beginning of your review. You said that it was on Netflix, and I'm happy about that. More on that in a second. Did you have a thought about these movies being on Netflix? You said, this one's on Netflix, and I have something to say about that.
Well, I guess what my point was, I thought I made it kind of at the end of my review there, is that Netflix movies, I've just got a lower expectation. Like, it made me think, like, I graded this movie higher than I did Alien Romulus, right?
Which is ridiculous.
Well, is it? I don't know. I expected way more from Alien Romulus. It's an alien movie. It's got Ridley Scott's stamp of approval and his name on it. And a theatrical release, big marketing budget. I expected that movie to be good. And even if it's just slightly not good, I'm going to dump on it. This movie, I was not expecting much, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised. Netflix keeps doing that. They're making these mediocre, middle-of-the-road movies that greatly benefit from being on the streaming platform. If they were released theatrically, I don't know.
100% don't know. 100% I know these would be bombs.
Is this almost a new category?
In a way, it is. I realized, too, we were reviewing this one, and there was one not too long ago that we reviewed on Netflix. This is how memorable they are. I can't remember the Netflix movies that well.
The J-Lo one, right?
Oh, yes, the J-Lo one.
Which I actually kind of enjoyed.
But it was also crap. But, I realized when I was watching this that there is definitely an audience out there that doesn't want to overall think. They want to come home from work and be like, hey, let me crack open a beer, smoke a little something, and just watch a movie that can just be entertaining, and I don't have to think that much.
Right.
And there are a lot of those on Netflix. Those
Sure.
are a category they're going for.
Are we ever getting like a Chip and Dale's streamer again, where the expectations are low, but it blows us out of the water?
I love those.
Are we ever getting that again, do we think?
That happened with Prey. Remember the Predator?
Predator.
That was like one of those that was like, oh,
That was
geez.
a Netflix, though.
No,
Amazon,
that was
I think.
Hulu. But that was one where we thought, like, what is this? A Predator
sequel,
movie on
yeah.
Hulu? And then we watched it and we're like, holy crap, that blew us out of the water.
Right up there with the original. And, the funny thing is, I was just talking about this while I was on vacation with one of my buddies who would put it above the original.
Prey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it above
I
the
remember
original.
when
That's
we
not
reviewed
crazy.
it. No, when we reviewed it, I said it would be right up there. It's awesome.
They're
It's
toe-to-toe.
definitely- Yeah, they're really good.
So good.
So I agree with you that the expectations of a Netflix movie are way lower, so it's easier to stomach these. I myself look at it like, Jesus, I would have went to the theater and paid money and saw The Union. Holy crap, I'd be freaking pissed. But I saw it on Netflix, even though we are paying for Netflix, but they fooled us somehow, so it's not
Doesn't feel.
But
Yeah.
I'm technically paying for that, and this is what I'm getting. Like, Two Jaws. Happy about my $17 they just charged me. I got a 2 Jaw movie out of it this month.
Yeah, but it's just a tiny chip of what you get. So I think it's worth it.
Jawheads, if you see The Union on Netflix, agree, disagree, want to comment, shoot us an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. This got us talking about our best and worst government secret programs. I hope you got creative here, Matt.
Oh, I did.
Let's go with our worst, and then we'll go out with our best before the break. What do you got for worst secret government program?
This is based on a real secret government program, but the movie sucked, which is a shame because of all the real secret government programs. This is one of the more interesting ones, and it happens to share initials with me. It is MK Ultra, which was the government's secret program to learn about psychic abilities and mind control, remote viewing.
This sounds awesome.
Things like that, right. But the movie sucked balls. It was The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Oh, that's what this movie's about? I
Yes.
never watched the film. I didn't know what it was about.
Oh, really? You never saw The Men Who Stare at
No,
Goats?
never saw
I swear
it.
to God, you reviewed it,
No,
dude.
I did not. I
I gotta
I feel
pull
like
up
it came out before CinemaJaw. I feel like it's
No.
way old.
Throw it in the fish tank.
Fish Tank that for sure. Yeah, it's who's in this one?
It's
like,
George Clooney,
yeah,
Obi-Wan,
Jeff Bridges.
Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got a great cast. Like on paper, you're like, holy crap, this is going to be a great movie, and it just sucks. Really, really bad execution.
Wow. So they actually have a program. on
Yeah,
this.
so that was real.
Wow.
I mean,
didn't
so
know that.
the government really
Didn't know
did
it.
spend American tax dollars on researching psychic abilities and all that kind of stuff. You can go down that rabbit hole. It's pretty fun.
So for my worst, I was looking at some, and I just got done reading Mel Brooks's biography. Great read, Jawheads.
Wow, I
It's
would
called-
love to read that.
It's called It's About Me. Mel Brooks.
Great title.
And or All About Me.
Spaceballs, the biography.
Yes, and it's broken up so that you get his early life, how he got into it, and then he's just got like these huge chapters on each movie, and it goes into detail about how he came up with the ideas and so on and so forth.
Gene Wilder and stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. Great stories he's got about Gene Wilder and the producers and so on and so forth. Well, in the book, maybe this is common knowledge, I did not know that Mel Brooks created the television show Get Smart.
Didn't know that either. Now that you mention it,
That's not older than when I guess Mel Brooks goes
90.
back far. But
He's 90 something.
Yeah,
He might be getting close to 100.
he's in his 90s.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I heard that, and since then I thought, what an absolute shame that the movie Get Smart that came out in 2008 did as bad as it did. And it had, I think, actually a great cast. Steve Carell, which was pretty good. And then you had Anne Hathaway in there as well. And the movie was just such a letdown. The show was great. And I think it could have, it had a very short run, the show. And then it was like, all right, now you got this chance to almost redeem it and bring back Get Smart into the pop culture again. And it was just a complete letdown of a movie for as talented as the people were. So I went with Get Smart as my worst as far as secret government programs.
That is a shame. I was a fan.
I was too.
He did the voice of Inspector Gadget as well.
Did he?
I forget that actor's name, but yeah.
Interesting.
Yep, true story.
All right, into our bests.
All right. So there are so many to choose from, right? I mean, you could make a case for the Mission Impossible. I think it's called. What are they called? Do you remember what the group is called?
IMF.
IMF. Thank you.
Impossible Missions Force.
Thank you, KP. A rescue from the fish tank. Anyway, and there's like thousands and thousands of those, but I went for an intergalactic secret government program. The Last Starfighter.
Because we rewatched it recently.
Yeah. But I maybe that's why, but I just think it's cool, the concept that a video game was used to recruit kids into this starfighter program to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada. Great. Like this kid is whisked out of his trailer park life to go defend the galaxy and save the world. There you go. That's a great secret government program right there.
Like it. My best, I've talked about how much I loved this trilogy at the time when it was a trilogy, and then they got greedy and kept going and really ruined things. But I picked Treadstone, which was the secret group in the Bourne Identity films.
I'm surprised you didn't go with the Jack of Hearts or whatever from that Wonder Woman movie. Gal Gadot. Remember that one?
Oh, jeez. That was another Netflix movie.
Yeah.
But whatchamacallit, Treadstone, I like this pick because the movies are actually based on trying to find the truth of who Matt Damon was, what the program was all about. And we don't get the answers right away, but it's not annoying because each movie is very satisfying on getting us to like point A to point B to point C. And then it concluded in the 3-part series of understanding that this government was creating these super, agents and brainwashing them and turning them into these almost basically like killing machines in a way. And we get to the bottom of it all in the 3rd one, and he sort of feels like free and he's out, And then, of course, they had to do a Jeremy Renner one, and then Matt Damon came back for the worst of them all, and they really kind of ruined it. But the first 3 Bourne films and dealing with Treadstone was great.
Good pick, Ryan. So yeah, nicely done.
All right. Want to take a break?
Let's take a little break.
Yeah, I hope KP is ready because
I'm
big
ready.
segment coming up. I mean, if KP does not agree with me on Alien, so help me God. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
So help me God. We'll be right back on CinemaJaw.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Listen, Jawheads, nobody can say KP isn't a film apologist. She knows she is. So much so that during our month of Halle, I defended the infamous Catwoman film. And I know, this is not a good movie, but it can still be enjoyable in its own way. This week's clip is from right after a fight scene in Catwoman, complete with whips, bad CGI Halle Berry, and what is, as far as I'm aware, the only superhero milk mustache in cinema. Enjoy Halle's commitment in Catwoman.
The other night, you killed somebody. She was a nice girl. Why? Cat got your tongue?
I don't know. They told me to flush the pipes, so I flushed the pipes.
Why?
I don't know why. Biolene. There's something wrong with Biolene. She heard something she wasn't supposed to hear. I don't know.
And her dare is covering it up.
Drinks, sparkling drinks, and all colored dandy, 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 dandy.
And we are back on CinemaJaw. Matt, before we get to our review of Blink Twice, and didn't mention it at the top, we're going to play some Stump the Kubinski. And in honor of Blink Twice, we are playing Channing Tatum,
Jesus.
Zoe Kravitz trivia.
I'm going to die.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Before we get there, though, we threw a few items into the fish tank. Plus, KP is going to tell us about Fan Expo and his experience checking out Alien and their experience of checking out Alien Romulus. Let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, there's some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello, thank you so much. It is such a gigantic week. We should. It feels weird to be back after everything that's happened, right? We were just talking about Matt on vacation. Fan Expo has happened this week. But it's good. It's good. It's exciting. We did have 3 different questions thrown in here. Our first one is Blink Twice. Zoe Kravitz's, I don't know what the plural is of her name, or possessive of her name is.
Got a dollar on the table on this one.
Is it her directorial debut? Matt's very braggadocious for all of the wrong reasons because it is.
Yes, give me that dollar.
Matt is wrong. We'll see. Well, okay.
Crispy dollar,
to
too.
be
It is
fair,
a crispy dollar.
To be fair, okay, what I will say, Matt, would you have still had this confidence if we had known that it was going to be Zoe Kravitz trivia? If it was Stump the Kubinski?
I don't remember what, but I thought I remember her having a credit recently. I could be wrong.
You are wrong.
You are.
Okay, no. Yeah. Maybe I was thinking of M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's directorial debut. Who knows?
How long is Cloud Atlas in its runtime? Start to finish, it runs for 1 hour and 72 minutes. For the Jawheads,
You mean 172 minutes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Well, okay.
Yeah,
so
I do that too. You see the one, and yeah.
So because I knew I would do that, I wrote this down for all of the Jawheads who do their math the same way as me. That is 5 Domino pizzas delivered to your door with 22 minutes to spare.
If you order them back to back to back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but being realistic, I said 3.5 hours. I was way off. It's not that long. I mean, 180 is 3 hours, so it's just shy of 3 hours.
Yeah, but the tracker's a lie, so, I mean, who knows how many pizzas you ate in that movie? I don't even think you were counting. And then our last one, when did The Men Who Stare at Goats come out? I was right. This was November of 2009. So 2 months into recording the show.
So very early on. Okay.
Yeah. I swear you reviewed
I did
it.
not. No way. I know I've never seen the movie.
Maybe I did.
I don't know. I don't remember. That's a long time ago.
Jeez.
Very early cinema. I mean, I would be shocked if either of you reviewed it that early on. It was before press screenings, too. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't even review movies every single episode.
No, not in the early days. We would miss some every once in a while because we just weren't getting out. I would get out way more. You had just had your first kid. Parker was quite young.
Yeah.
And I was seeing more movies at that time, but still not every single week. I remember thinking, how could you see 50 movies in a year? I mean, my God. And now I'm over 100 already. And
I'm way over 50, yeah.
We're not even into September yet, so it's funny how it's changed. So we were, as we mentioned, Matt, you were touring all the Ghostbusters sites in New York, and we dispatched KP out to Fan Expo. Give us the update.
It was delightful. I know last year we had gone. The only negative comment I have to make about it is that, as far as I could tell, they did not double up us with Beatles Fest, Beatles Con, whatever it was last year that we were making fun of.
Did you go check? You looked for him?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And it wasn't the same without them, but in some ways that kind of is a good thing. I also had a little bit of a Ghostbusters experience because the Chicago's Ghostbusters were back
there.
this year.
Yeah.
The Stormtroopers Garrison was also there.
Yep, my buddy
Great
Ray.
show.
Yep.
Mark Hamill was there. So many of the different Star Wars series casts that we've had introduced on the Disney Plus series were there. All in all, I mean, it was a terrific time. There was actually some really cool stuff happening through a lot of Transformers stuff. Be very excited because there's that new movie coming out, I think in like a month, maybe less. And sad you boys weren't able to make it. That's always a good time.
I was sad too. I had a great time in New York, but I was missing it.
A lot of good cosplay. It was
Absolutely,
good.
as always.
That's so much fun.
It
I always
is.
love going to the bar, having beers, and seeing everybody dressed up. It's a good time.
Well, hey, I guess we'll see you at C2E2, Rye. That's
Yes.
the next big
That's our
Comic-Con.
next one.
Yeah, April.
2025.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, for the jawheads that may have missed last week's episode, me and Matt were split on Alien Romulus.
Ah, yes.
And we said, all right, here's the deal. We need someone to split this up, and we need KP to go see this movie. You did get out and see Alien Romulus. Tell the jawheads what you thought.
In all fairness, I think Ryan should put this $1 back on the table because we are settling a score. Ryan, you're absolutely wrong. I hated this.
Thank you.
I
Thank
left
you.
this film
Thank
so
you.
angry. I left this film livid.
How?
Okay, and it's funny. So I had
What
actually
didn't you like about this?
I had seen this before I had needed to finish the edit. I had actually seen this the day after we recorded.
Okay.
And it was like, I don't know if it was like Matt's words permeating in my brain during the time that I was watching this, but when I was listening through the edit last week and I'm hearing Matt's points, I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, this is exactly right. Yes, this is exactly right. So much. All of the characters were horrible. You're talking earlier in this episode about your gripe with the earpieces and how it's like we just need to find more creative ways to tell these kinds of things. The first 30 minutes of expository horse shit of all of these characters' motivations for leaving this space station. The one that's most egregious is that there's that jackass guy who's really mean to Andy, and then they cut to the ship where they're also doing the earpiece bullshit, and the pilot off in the ship goes like, "You didn't hear what happened to his mom? Killed by the synthetics." So, like, come on. I was like, I am 30 years old. I don't need you to...
Spoon feeding me.
All of this could have been solved if the first instance where he's being mean to Andy, any of them are just like, hey, man, just because your mom was killed by a synthetic doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. Immediate... I am writing better than these people who are making this much money for this much garbage. Also, do not even get me started. They broke the rule of Chekhov's gun. How spoilery am I allowed to get here?
Fair.
Yeah.
There's a scene where one of the characters is like teaching Rain how to use a gun. And like this character's the expert. They make a big deal out of it. There's a line.
I did like the aim assist though.
It was a cool idea, but like, okay. And like he's spouting off all of this, like how to use a gun. Like ridiculously knowledgeable. They make a quick bit about it. And he's like, I learned it from video games. There's a moment where this character has the opportunity to do a Hail Mary. He has the gun. It doesn't come back. This is like this rule has been around in literature for how long? And they don't follow through on it. Matt was entirely correct with it.
Entirely correct.
Sigourney Weaver earns the line in question. This character is like so insecure and non-competent. When the line gets delivered, it made me like I was mad.
Oh my God.
I was mad because it's like all of the characters are making these god-awful choices. I hate to say it, but Andy was correct at every possible call. every call.
Well, of course. I mean, but okay, let's go over the positives here. The set design, the actual aliens using practical.
Yeah, the set design from the
very good.
70s.
Visually, it was gorgeous.
Is it very good? It looked
Visually,
great.
it's gorgeous. The new creature.
The sound design was very good.
That was
scary.
Cool. I agree with like the zero gravity acid scene. That was cool. The new creature, that was cool. But also, like, for as much of that, there is still Ian Holmes, and that is infuriating.
Terrible.
Thank you.
And they don't like.
How did two people in this room not like
just
Alien
two.
Romulus?
Mark from Villa Park also didn't like it.
What?
True story.
Wow.
I think.
Mark, you're back on my bad list.
If I didn't, maybe you're back on his too. We were waiting for that voicemail, right? I think if you haven't seen the other Alien films, so you don't have a litmus.
Like this.
Maybe, I don't know. But that's true. The friend who I went and saw it hadn't seen any and was like, I didn't like that very much. But like,
we cannot be alone, KP. I'm looking it up right now.
No, we're not. The friend I went with was like, this sucks. This was awful.
How many Jaws? 4 Jaw scale here, KP.
See, and this is the problem, right? Because there are things where these people are clearly competent at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's 2, right? Like
2. At least higher than Matt Kay's. At least I feel some vindication that it's at least higher than Matt Kay's, but I'm upset that you didn't like it.
The technical elements outweigh the narrative and competence. Every issue I have is completely narrative. Every issue I have is verbal and written.
It's down to 74%.
But still very fresh. Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
Yeah, there's people in my camp.
The elevator scene was so stupid.
Camp, KP.
What a shame. Boy, oh boy.
I know, that's what we're saying.
To hear KP come on and back me up, and no.
For
Matt Kay's side.
Peeling back the CinemaJaw curtain here, too. So I sent, right before the screening, I had sent a picture of me with my popcorn, my feet up, because it was one of those theaters in the screen. And I was like, can't wait to give Matt Kay an earful about how wrong he is about this series we love. And
I thought it was a slam dunk.
It should be noted that I am a Covenant and Prometheus apologist. And I came out of this like, what?
Wow. 2 Jaws for KP, 1.75 for Matt, and I am out here giving 4 Jaws to Alien Romulus. I guess Mark in Villa Park doesn't like it either. So.
And don't even get me started how Remus served no purpose. They make a big deal about like Romulus is this half of the space station, Remus is this half, but it doesn't matter. None of it matters.
It was a
so
stupid
this is
subtitle.
just like just giving us this thing that ultimately does all of the Chekhov's guns that just don't get shot.
Meaningless.
You don't tell me that there's this separation if it doesn't matter. You don't name the movie after this separation if it does not matter.
Wow. All right. Well, we're still in the fish tank.
Thank you, KP.
Hey, I won the $1 this week, so I'm still happy. While we're still in the fish tank, next week on the show, still need to discuss. There is a horror movie out there called Strange Darling.
Okay.
Definitely have a review of that, but we'll discuss. It's ending of summer. Always sort of that weird
horror
point.
starting to come around.
Yeah, and it's just there's not like another major, big release. But we do need to discuss if we're going to review The Crow.
Beetlejuice.
The Crow.
Yeah.
Oh, we are going to have that's in 2 weeks. Beetlejuice will be early September. We already got the screening for that, but that's another week away. But maybe we take a look at The Crow.
I think we
remake.
kind of have to.
Boy, I don't know.
Also,
it's my favorite movie they've just remade.
I know.
And they're really pushing it hard. Like the marketing is like, they're actually pushing this.
Well, there wasn't a good press screening for us to go to. There was one.
I think it's out already. There was a press screening.
It came out this weekend as we're recording this.
Yeah. It was the press screening was at the same time as Alien, right?
Right. So,
what are you gonna do? Kind of wish I had went to The Crow.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm
you say
really
that
worried
now,
about
but
it.
that's also one that's on high shoulders.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Yeah. I mean, it's never going to compare to the original. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. More to discuss on that one. I think that's everything in the fish tank. Jump back in there.
You bet.
Slater King, let's get to the question that everybody is dying for you to answer. Where have you been?
I guess I just needed to disappear for a little while. So I sort of bought an island.
An island?
Mm-hmm. It's a great place to bring friends. Nice to meet you, Frida. We're going to my island for a few days.
Do you guys want to come?
That clip is from Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut, Matt.
Are you sure?
Entitled Blink Twice. It stars her fiance, Channing Tatum, as a wealthy guy who owns his own island. The film is getting a small theatrical release in theaters now before heading to Prime Video at a future date. Earlier this week, Amazon released a statement about the film that read this: "While this is a fictionalized movie, it contains mature themes and depictions of violence, including sexual violence. This may be upsetting or triggering for some viewers." The plot reads like this. A cocktail waitress becomes infatuated with a billionaire tech mogul who travels with him to his private island for a luxurious party where things begin to go wrong after her friend vanishes. With that said, it may sound odd, but this film actually starts off as a comedy satire of sorts. It has a fun, upbeat vibe to it when the girls, Frida and Jess, think it is all about having fun at this crazy getaway party. However, things take a hard right turn when Jess goes missing and the truth of what is going on is revealed. I was very excited after I read the cast sheet for this. Joining Channing Tatum are Naomi Ackie as Frida, Aaliyah Shawkat as Jess, plus we get Simon Rex, Haley Joel Osment, Gina Davis, and Christian Slater. While Naomi Ackie does an amazing job here, unfortunately, there's not enough to do for the other big supporting cast members I mentioned. In particular, Christian Slater and Gina Davis are severely underused, almost embarrassingly so. The plot twist is not at all that shocking, not that it was supposed to be. It is there to get to the underlying themes of sexual violence, trauma, date rape, drugs, and more. In short, there is a lot to discuss with Blink Twice. Does it work as a dark thriller? Just barely. Knowing that this is coming to Prime Video, and that's happening in a not too distant future, I would say save your money and wait to watch it at home. I was impressed with Kravitz's talent behind the camera, and I'm excited to see what she does next. Blink Twice gets a passing grade for me at 2.5 Jaws.
Nice. I actually saw the trailer for this quite some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to see it finally getting released. Was it scary, or is it more like a mystery? You're trying to figure it out, because it almost has like Get Out vibes in the trailer.
Right. And what I picked up on and where I thought I was going to be drawn to it was, again, going back to that like paranoid feeling in a horror film. Something that when you think you're being drugged or you're being dragged into a cult, whatever
people start
it would
forgetting
be.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're getting whisked away to an island, and then all of a sudden you're waking up and you can't remember exactly what was going on the day before. So let's just have some more fun. And then you can't remember. And, I don't want to reveal everything here since most people listening to this probably haven't seen the movie yet. So you figure out, it's explained what's going on the island. Again, it's not like a M. Night Shyamalan twist, and it's not supposed to be. But it's a reveal, and it comes out, and it's like, okay, sort of get where this is going. And then it really takes like more of a darker turn when you're thinking overall what the implications of people not being able to remember what they're doing the night before, being taken advantage of. And it's not necessarily a paranoid feeling. It's a real feeling of what's going on.
Yeah,
so it is creepy.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum plays it up pretty good as the tech guy that's, supposed to be almost like a Elon Musk or,
Jeff Bezos, that
right,
kind of
one
character.
of those kind of guys.
Yeah.
And so he plays it up pretty good because he's, handsome dude, and he's able to, play like the rich guy that way rather well. And then also when you start to see him cast in a darker light, he plays a good creep. All of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, he's doing this to all these people. This is not right. So I thought he played a good dual role there.
That's cool, man. Were there any jaw-dropping moments?
The discovery of Jess missing, which is her friend, I thought was played up pretty well because, again, these characters are starting to forget things. And so when she brings this up to these other girls, she's like, well, wait a minute. She's starting to remember, and I don't want to say why, but she's starting to have like, well, wait a minute. I haven't seen now Jess in a long time. And the girl next to her is like, who's Jess? And it's like, oh my God, this is getting like crazy. And then everybody's like, well, I don't even know what Jess. And they're like, wait, she was on the island. And then things start to open up. At that time, like the mystery was at its peak. And that would be my moment where I was most engaged with the film.
Okay. Got a movie poster quote?
I went with best to observe Channing Tatum Island from afar. You know?
Yeah.
If there's an island out there and it's named Channing Tatum, just look at it from afar.
Sure. Yeah. Let the boat go by.
Yeah. 2.5 Jaws for Rye the Movie Guy. Like I said, getting a small release in theaters and then to Prime Video.
That's a recommend.
Yep. So,
all right.
Slight recommend.
I'll check it out.
This got us thinking of our best, worst Channing Tatum movies. I'm going to go first with the worst. I like going worst first and then end on a high note, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I went with, unbelievable that I picked two Wachowski brothers, siblings, now Wachowski siblings, but I picked for worst Jupiter Ascending, which also was the Wachowskis, starring Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
And in the film, he plays Kane Wise, who is a genetically engineered soldier. Get a load of this, Matt. Half human, half dog. And though it's not said that exactly that in the movie, that is the case. And he has a tremendous power of smell, which allows him to track a gene through the universe.
And he can lick his own crotch.
What the hell's Channing Tatum doing, licking his own crotch?
I don't know, man. He scoots across the rug.
Yeah, taking a shower over there.
That guy.
But
Mila bops him on the nose with a newspaper.
He's chasing mailmen all over.
Yep.
Guy walks over, he's just running him around.
The Wachowskis. We're so much better than them.
Yeah.
I would say Jupiter Ascending, at its core, I like the idea of like Earth being just a small piece inside this galactic empire.
Yeah.
And I remember liking that sci-fi element of it, but the stuff of like him being half human, half dog never worked.
So he's a Mog.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm my own best friend.
And then you also had Eddie Redmayne with this like really weird voice going on. I always say this, and I know a lot of people don't feel the same, but I think Mila Kunis is just terrible. She's just not
Bite your tongue.
Someone that can carry a movie of this nature. It's a massive sci-fi film, and they got Mila Kunis.
Yeah, she was probably not the right cast
Not
choice.
the right cast. I mean, get like, a Natalie Portman, somebody that has a little bit more, zest to him than Mila Kunis. Just was the wrong choice for it, and it just was not good.
Interesting that you chose her cast mate from Black Swan as her replacement.
That's true.
Yeah, that's what that whole movie's about.
What about a worst for you?
A worst for me, I will go with G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra.
Never saw it.
What a piece of shit that movie is. I'm sorry. I got to lay it out like it is. My sister is a real G.I. Joe fan. Not the 80s cartoon per se. She just loves these movies.
What? The movies?
Yeah. And I remember my sister listens to this show, and I love her, and I think she's got great taste in movies, except for some weird reason, she's got this soft spot for these like crappy action movies. And at this point in time, I was really concerned about her taste in movies overall.
I would be too.
She's really pulled the nose up since then. But man, she told me to watch G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. I'm like, what are you thinking?
To be clear, is this like me with Venom where I know it's bad, but I love it?
Maybe.
And I'm just like, part of the fun is that it's this bad?
Just unplug your brain and enjoy a dumb action movie. And she probably likes, all the beefcake on display, and that's fair. That's fair.
Like the Fast and the Furious fans, right? Like
Sure.
people
Well,
love those, but they
people
know
love
what it
those.
is.
Maybe it's that. I have never seen a Fast and the Furious movie. None of them.
Didn't you? The
That
most
was just
recent
me.
one. Oh,
That was just
Fate,
me.
right?
Yes. And that was
Fate
the only
of
one I've seen.
Furious.
G.I. Joe, I love the 80s cartoon. Super stoked on all the movies, and I keep getting disappointed again and again and again and again. This is probably the worst of the bunch, though.
I have not seen him. I've never
Don't
cared
bother.
to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. On to Channing Tatum's best. And I wrote down a few. I'm going to let you go first because I think I know where you went and I don't want to spoil yours.
Okay. I went with an unexpected, another adaptation of an 80s property that I didn't think would be good. None of us thought it would be good, and it is Jump Street.
Yes, I have this listed also. So this is one of my three.
So at this point, I don't know if Magic Mike was out or if I just hadn't seen it, but this was my first exposure to Channing Tatum where I was like, oh my God, like Channing Tatum actually does have real talent. Like he's pretty damn good. So funny in this movie. I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's cast alongside Jonah Hill,
right?
Who is pretty much at his comedy peak at this, moment in his life. The scene where they get drugged and his eyebrows crawling around his face, freaking hilarious, dude. Channing Tatum's comedic timing, his acting ability is actually really on display in this. Mm-hmm. Jump Street, way better than it should have been. It's almost like a hidden gem comedy classic.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's actually what I was expecting to talk about because I thought you were going to go with somewhere else, which I'll go now. But I agree with you. I didn't think that he had the comedy chops until 21 Jump Street. And I was like, oh, he can hang with these guys. Because, when you can hang with the Jonah Hill crowd, it's like, oh, once you're in that, it's like, oh, all right, he's got some
comedy chops.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I loved it. I went with his dramatic role in Foxcatcher.
For sure.
Which definitely was also, we're talking about him being funny in 21 Jump Street. Foxcatcher was like, oh, he's got some chops being drama as well.
Yeah.
So totally serious moment where he just goes nuts in the hotel room and nails the mirror and so on and so forth to the point of like, it's almost like scary to watch to see someone that intense on screen. It just, not even talking about the character, the performance itself, like scared of Channing Tatum getting that crazed up and, blood coming out of his hands and pretty nuts.
Yeah, it was a good scene and a good movie.
Totally. So Foxcatcher, great. You mentioned 21 Jump Street. Magic Mike, as mentioned, really top of his game here because basically about...
That's the Tatumness
Yes.
he gets.
And then lastly... a movie I don't think you saw, I think I reviewed it solo here, was The Lost City from a couple years ago. Sandra Bullock, and Brad Pitt. Have you seen this now?
No, but I remember this review fondly because we were slamming on Sandra Bullock that whole month. Whole month.
But the movie ended up being really good, and it was partly because of Channing Tatum, and Daniel Radcliffe is great as the villain in there. But man, Tatum was great in here.
Wait, Radcliffe wasn't the villain in that movie.
Yes,
he was.
Wasn't he also the villain in the Uncharted movie?
No.
He pops up in it.
I don't recall.
I didn't see the Uncharted movie.
Right. Late fish tank, throw it in. We'll get it after the trivia. But I don't recall that.
He's in there.
He is?
Yeah.
But he's definitely the villain in The Lost City. So
interesting.
Tatum, looking at his filmography, a lot of great ones to choose from, actually. I think he picks really good roles. I mean, Logan Lucky is pretty solid.
Yeah.
So
he used to hang out at the River Shannon all the time.
Really?
Yep. True story.
Interesting. It's right down the road from us.
Ish. Yeah, close enough.
Ready to play some Channing Tatum, Zoe Kravitz movie trivia, Matt?
No. I've never felt less confident going into a trivia game.
Well, I tried to write them easy, and we start off very, very easy. Matt needs 3 or more not to be stumped. Here you go. Question 1. How many Magic Mike movies are there?
3.
One more time?
3.
That is correct. Didn't seem very confident there.
No, I wasn't. Thought maybe 4.
You have Magic Mike XXL, and Magic Mike Last Dance.
Okay.
So you are correct. 1-0. 2. Zoe Kravitz starred in this 3-installment film series in which Shailene Woodley was the star, and the films came out in 2014, 2015, and 2016. Name the film series.
Divergent?
That is correct. You probably had not seen any of those.
Nope.
You probably knew from the
Shailene Woodley. Yeah, I mean, how many film series has she been in?
Question 3. Zoe Kravitz played Catwoman in the 2022 film The Batman. Name 4 other actors from that movie.
Paul Dano.
1.
Colin Farrell.
2.
Robert Pattinson.
3. Oh, my goodness.
And, goddamn, why am I blanking on the amazing actor who plays Commissioner Gordon? His name is... Well, I can think of another one. I need 4?
One more. All you need is one more.
Oh. Barry Koenig.
We will give that to you. I didn't even write him down in the cast, but he does appear in the movie.
He does. He pops up as the Joker at the very end. Who's the actor who plays
You were
Gordon?
trying to think of Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright.
Yes. Also in the film is John Turturro. He's
he plays the mob boss.
Right. Andy Serkis plays Alfred.
Right.
And also Peter Skarsgård is also in there as well. He plays one of the politicians.
Okay.
So what's funny is I did not write down Barry
Koenig. Yeah.
Koenig, but you are correct on that.
Yep.
Matt is not stumped this week. He's out 3 for 3.
Hey, Batman questions.
I know.
If it was Batman trivia.
Question 4, Matt. Channing Tatum pops up in this 2009 Johnny Depp film in which Depp played a gangster.
Black Mass.
It was a good guess, but he played a gangster also in Public Enemies.
Never would have got it.
Yeah. Last question. Channing Tatum appears with Jamie Foxx in one action film. It came out in 2013. Name it. Channing Tatum.
White House Down.
That is correct. 4 out of 5 this week, Matt. Not bad at all.
Wow. And I thought I would die on this.
Yeah. No, it must be that soda, that can of Coke you're drinking.
Yeah,
over
man.
There.
Definitely the caffeine helped me out.
The caffeine was a pick-me-up.
Yep.
We should be clear. Normally, this was where we would have a joke, and it's actually a PBR. Matt K is genuinely drinking a Coca-Cola.
True story.
Unbelievable. Brings us to the end of a fun, entertaining Jaw.
Indeed, it does.
First and foremost, we want to thank our producer, our editor, KP.
Well, we had a late...
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Well, and that's in here. I was ready to say it. Yeah, he's not at all in the Lost
Just
City.
wanted to make sure.
He is in the Lost City. He's not at all in Uncharted. You're thinking of Antonio Banderas. Completely different person than Daniel Radcliffe.
Doesn't he pop up at the end?
No.
All right.
No, not at all.
Then
Shame on you, man.
I'm wrong.
Shame on you.
But thank you. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. October 19th, there is a Pancakes and Booze. And very, very exciting news. October 20th, the day after, at the Chinese American Museum of Chicago, there will be a Asian American Halloween Stories gallery that I will be at as well. Very exciting. Tickets for all of that, once they're available, be in the show notes.
That's awesome. Can't wait to get out there and support KP. We also want to thank our Patreons. Thank you for supporting this independent podcast. If you want to join us over there on Patreon, it's very simple. You go to patreon.com/CinemaJaw, and you can donate anything you want. Help us, and you get a bunch of freebies.
Yeah, you get access to our entire archive of extras and bonuses.
Right.
So where we review Catwoman, for one.
Yes, and right now we're going to do, hopefully, I think after we get done recording this.
Well, I'm high on Coca-Cola.
We were going to do a quick Broadway review of Back to the Future, the musical, and Wicked, which we both saw this past week. One saw each of one of these. So.
Indeed. Well, let's get to that.
Yes.
And if you want to listen to that, just jump over to Patreon and join.
Yes. Another way to support us is by leaving us a review, a star rating, all that good stuff on any of the podcast apps that you are listening to CinemaJaw on. That helps us attract new listeners.
It does, quite a bit.
We are Perfect 5.0 on Spotify, so we should keep that momentum going because we love that.
No doubt. And follow us on all the social medias. We are at CinemaJaw from everywhere, from TikTok to Facebook, anywhere. Follow us, like us, do that.
It's fun. It's fun.
It is. Until next week, I'm Ryan, the movie guy.
I'm Matt K. And keep on jawing about the movies.